Bad news for people under the age of 30. Social Security is making promises it can't keep. I mean, today's retirees are doing pretty well living off of your tax contributions, but when you go to collect 40 years from now, there won't be much money in the till. Now, there's some good news. You can create your own security by using the power of compound interest. I'm going to give you some very specific tips on how to make that work. But first, I want to tell you about a young man I know. He graduated from college in May, did a little bit of world travel, and in September, he started at a high-paying job at Google. And now this guy, being clever like everybody at Google, knew that the maximum money you can put into a 401k, which is $17,500, works on a calendar year basis. He knew, for example, that if he came up a little bit short in 2013, he can't put in extra in 2014 to make up the difference. It's a use it or lose it proposition. So you know what he did? In order to have the cash to pay his rent, he did a little bit of borrowing from his parents. He's going to pay them back pretty quickly because he knew what 40 or 50 years of compounding would do for him. That leads me to my first tip. The first one is think about getting a little bit of help to get your 401k going if you've got parents who can afford it. After all, they're going to be the ones draining Social Security for the next 20 or 30 years, so there's nothing left when you go to collect. Second tip, very important from a tax point of view, Roth. Think Roth. Roth is the kind of 401k that uses after-tax dollars. That means you don't get a deduction on the way in, but you get a completely free ride on the way out, which could be very, very important. And the reason this particularly makes sense in your early years, and especially in your very first year, is that if you don't have a full year of pay, your tax bracket's going to be low. So you're not giving anything up by not having the deduction up front, and you'll get a lot of benefit 40 or 50 years from now. My next tip is you should think about compounding and how important it is to start really young and build for a lot of years. Look at that $17,500 figure. It seems like a lot now. But wait till it compounds for half a century. Between now and the middle of your retirement years at 5%, which is realistic, I think, on a real inflation-adjusted basis for stocks, that money grows into $250,000 of spending power. My last tip is don't dive too deep into 401k or retirement saving if you're not adequately protected for your cash needs for the next couple of years, particularly if you've got debts to pay off. It usually doesn't make a whole lot of sense to stuff up your 401k at a time when you're still paying stiff interest on either credit cards or student loan debt.